On today's episode, we have Andrew Kolikoff joining us. He's a speaker, an author, and a coach. He's somebody that's connected to just about everyone here in town, so someone you'll want to get to know. Today, we're focusing on a conversation on servant leadership. This is an episode you'll want to tune in for. Andrew, thanks so much for being here today.
It's great to be here.
Well, I feel like you're the man that really doesn't need the introduction because it seems as though everyone in town already knows you, or if they don't know you and they look you up on LinkedIn, there's 1 degray of separation. So you seem to be
Yeah,
very well connected.
they tell me I'm the Kevin Bacon of Phoenix.
Hey, I think there's a lot of truth behind that.
Well, and it's funny, Lindsay, because people say, "Oh my God, he's a master networker," and even though I don't get pissed by that, I don't like to think of myself as that, because to me it's not networking. To me, it's this mission I'm on, that I live my life, which maybe I'll tell you my story, to make a difference in people's lives. So to me, it's not networking. But that effectively is what happens because I get to know so many people. So and it's because of my story and all that stuff. So,
Well, I'll just share my personal encounters. Your name came up probably a zillion times in a lot of my different meetings and conversations. So we finally had to meet. And then I continue to laugh how many times people are like, "Oh, do you know Andrew Kolikoff?" And I'm like, "Do I know him? Come on."
You're like, please, enough already. La 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 la.
Which is all good. But before we dive into today's conversation, I really do want to share your story. But before we dive into that, I would just love for you to share a little bit more about who you are for those that haven't had the opportunity to meet you yet.
So who I am, I'm a passionate living person. I've lived a go for it life. My work has never defined who I am, but it is in alignment with who I am. I'm a former chief science officer, environmental scientist, university adjunct professor. And so nature was always very important to me. It was this thing that I was always fascinated and had a great appreciation for, and made it my career. And then I realized I was bringing in business through this story, which we'll share, and went into business. I had 2 graduate degrees in every ology you can imagine, and never took a business course. And as it turns out, I've been a much better businessman than probably a scientist. I've owned 3 businesses. One of them, I got to build a big company, and I got licensing from the NFL, baseball, basketball, and hockey. And I, by accident, truly by accident, made the front page of USA Today with a photograph, top story. December of 2004, changed my life. Company even got bigger, sold it in 2006. Since then, I am a executive business growth consultant, strategic business growth consultant, author, speaker, coach. But everything I've always done has been something I love. I've always sucked, Lindsay, real bad at doing things I should be doing rather than things I need to be doing and I'm supposed to be doing, So, and I learned the hard way that I just need to, if that means taking a risk, I need to do that. So that's really the kind of person I've been.
And one thing that consistently pops up as a theme is that you're into servant leadership, and that you're all about being service oriented.
Yeah.
And that's a different and unique mindset. Not everybody thinks that way when it comes to the business world. And so would you mind just expanding a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So everybody, when they meet somebody in business, has what I call a transactional mindset, where if you're having a coffee or you're having a lunch or you're having a meeting, everybody has a transactional mindset. And something I learned from my parents and grandparents was to actually practice not having a transactional mindset, where if you had a true service mindset, then it forces you to be more present and to ask way better questions, and to it basically changes the direction and trajectory of the conversation and actually the relationship. So it's something that I've done in my life. And I very, very few people I know actually have a non-transactional mindset. That's why when I told you networking, because networking means you have a transactional mindset, right? And when I meet people, I don't. I shut it off. I am actually there to make a difference in their life and serve them. And whatever capacity I was in my life, from super uber successful and being in the papers and Sports Illustrated and la 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 la, to wherever life goes like this, I never changed that. That always remained the same. So, and the companies that I always ran from a servant leadership perspective. And I wound up studying it and reading books on it and living it. And now I do a lot of public speaking about it. I speak to executives. And it is inarguable that the most profitable, best companies to work for in the world are companies that are servant led.
Well, and I think through that process, you're a lot more authentic and real, and people can see through that. And now more than ever, as we're in this virtual world, when a lot of people are having to connect over email and social media, having that authentic connection point, or, trying to have those conversations with different leaders, you have to have a different approach. If you go in through the highly transactional standpoint, I don't think it's going to get you as far as what you would like. And so, do you have any tips as we
I do.
continue navigating
I
COVID?
do. Oh, I'm
Um,
so glad you asked that question. I have lots of tips. I coach people on this stuff. So, let's pretend, right? Let's pretend you're having a lunch, that you're an attorney and you get connected to this person, right? And you're meeting this person because you never know. They could be your client or they can refer you to clients. And so what I always try to teach people is, if you're going to do that, just try it on for size, do something different. Before you walk in the door, say, okay, because the three most important things in success in life and business there's three of them. Mindset is everything, mindset is everything, and mindset is everything, right? So get your mindset straight and say, okay, I'm going to be here present for them, that I'm only trying to see if I can make an impact in their life today, and challenge yourself. And once you have that mindset, the very nature of the questions that you're going to ask are different. So one of the two questions I always ask is, first of all, tell your story. Make it personal, not just professional. Tell them about you. Tell them, even more importantly, about your failures. I grab them, I speak to audiences of executives, and I often start off the conversation by saying, it's really funny. I'm holding the mic and I have failed probably more than anybody in this room, yet I'm holding the mic. And they're looking at me like, what? And I'm like, it's true. However, I've accumulated more lessons learned than anybody in this room. And that's why I'm holding the mic. So be open to share what your lessons learned were, your failures were, personally and professionally. Be more comfortable with sharing who you are and yourself. And then when you do that, they're going to open up, right? They're going to feel comfortable because you've already done that. And then to try and make a difference in their life, I always ask them a few questions, but then I'll get to two critical questions. The few questions I ask are, what do you feel is like holding you back? If there was a genie and I rubbed the lamp and a genie comes out and asks you, today, Lindsay, what would make you, what would be that breakthrough for you? What would be that moment? What would be that thing that you have been trying to get over that wall? What is it? What's holding you back? And let them talk, right? And ask keep digging. Don't let go. When they start talking, dig further and dig further and dig further. And try to figure out how you can help them, what you can do. Volunteer to say, hey, would it be okay if I tried to help you with that? Right? And people will be like, really? And I'm like, yeah, really. I'd love to help you with that. And that's what happened. That's how you become more memorable. And when you become more memorable, then of course, what I didn't know was people are going to refer you more business because you were more memorable, because you had a more authentic, using your word, conversation. And then two other things I would say, two other tips is always ask somebody professionally, who are the companies that they're targeting and the names of those decision makers of those companies. You'll find that most everybody doesn't know, which blows my mind, because if you don't have a roadmap to where you're going, how the hell you go, where you headed, right?
Amen.
Right?
Especially now, people should really be thinking about that as we're doing 2021
Right.
business planning.
Right. Most people, I mean, I ask that question every day, and I would say 90% they don't know, which blows my mind. The second is, and and I know, I mean, look, here's my list right there. I'm always revising. I revised it today, right? I always know. And the second question, and this is the most important question, great tip for everybody. Everybody thinks that from a lunch that maybe they'll remember me, maybe they'll refer me, and they hope, and they hope, and they hope. Don't worry about what they can do. You're only in control of what you can do. Take that responsibility seriously and make a difference in their life that moment. And how do you do that? With this question. You say to them, okay, who are the people that are most likely to refer you outside of your existing and past clients? Who are the people most likely to refer you clients? And some people struggle with that. They don't know. And I offer to help. And I offer to help them prepare this list too. If they don't have it, I'm like, let me help you with that. And so invariably, a lot of people love to meet lawyers, accountants, bankers, and other. Who doesn't know lawyers, bankers, and account? Everybody does. I can say, hey, do you know Lindsay from Fenimore Craig? And they're like, no. I'm like, oh my God, you have to know her, right? So then I grab my phone and I do a voice text between Lindsay and that person right in front of them. And I introduce them in a group voice text, and then I put their LinkedIn profiles and their contacts, and I do it right in front of them. And they're like, holy moly, and I make about 5 of them. So right then and there, not only are you making an impact in their life in the moment, but you're becoming memorable to them. They're never going to forget it. And so anyway, those are some really good tips I would give them.
I agree. And I love your strategy for actually doing it on the spot when you're with that person, because from a time and energy management standpoint, once you leave that meeting, of course, you want to follow up with them, but to spend that extra time sending introductory emails and all that stuff, it doesn't need to be that
Time
complicated.
consuming. And out of my relentlessness every day, to make a difference in people's lives, you become creative to figure out how to become more efficient at it. So I realized I could create group voice texts, verbalize it, and just attach their contacts, and I'm done. And you'd be shocked how much everybody prefers that over an email, because everybody's email inbox is bombarded.
Yep.
And this is so much more personal that way. So that's a great technique for your audience that I would say definitely use.
So, one question that you recommended that individuals bring up in conversation is asking them, who do they want to meet? And so, kind of a spinoff on that for you, Andrew, since you already know so many
Oh,
different people.
God.
My question for you is, who do you think you can help the most?
What kinds of people in what industries?
Sure. Yeah.
I help, well, you're asking, that's an unfair question because I help a lot of people. But the people that are most easy to help me are executive, consultants. I'm really good at helping consultants, people in the financial sector, whether they be accountants. Um, I'm very good at helping people find work and a job. For whatever reason, I am the Phoenix's. If you're looking for a job, call Andrew. And I don't, like recruiters, that's their job. To me, this is just what I do to help people. So if anybody's looking for work, it is my honor to try and help you. Um, and I would also say I love to also connect lawyers, legal professionals. In New York, lawyers are extraordinarily dynamic connectors. I'm from New York, 43 years of my life, and everybody in New York wants to get to know lawyers because lawyers are the ones that dole out all the business, right? And in this town, it's not like New York that way. They're much more conservative this way. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just the way it is. So I have always been able to pass on great relationships for people in the professional services. So law, finance, accounting, consulting, that kind of thing.
Awesome. So another thing that you mentioned in your brief introduction was the fact that you're an author, and I know you recently just published a book. Would you
I
mind sharing
did.
with our listeners a little bit
I
more about what that
did.
book entails?
So the book has a big backstory, but I'll basically sum it up the best way I can. So it's called The Success Secret: What the Happiest, Most Successful Leaders Never Tell You. That's the name of the book. And really, the truth is, it's not a secret. It's just that the greatest leaders don't often talk about it. And what I mean by it is, and Lindsay, I know you know this, but when I had a license from the NFL, baseball, basketball, and hockey, my clients were the owners of teams. Owners of teams are billionaires, not millionaires. And I got to know billionaires, and they're different. I'm sorry to say, everybody, they're different. And I learned from them. And one of the big things I learned, two big things. One of them was to have the courage to be authentically yourself, how you want to dress. Look, I wear a necklace. People are like, why? I, I, I do me. And if it means I'm going to be silly in a meeting, if it means I'm going to crack a joke, I never project myself in a way that's pleasing intentionally. I only just authentically do me. And you'd be shocked how, when somebody's in a big meeting, how very rarely they do that. So that was one thing I learned. And the other thing I learned, and this all is in the book, is that when I say you, Lindsay, I mean everybody. Your career, your business will only ever be about as good as you are. And about as good as you are, it's about as good as it's going to get. Yet everything we learn and everything society teaches us is to focus on it, that we need an education for it, training for it, people for it, technology for it, money for it. The list is endless on what you need for it. But the happiest, most successful people you meet are working on themselves almost as much as they're working on it. So then that begs the question, what are they working on? Well, that's what's in the book. It's actually practicing being and understanding, having a much greater sense of introspection, because the answers to the most difficult challenges you're going to face in life are going to come from within you. Even though you will ask others, ultimately you will take an accounting of all that, and you will rely on yourself. So the deeper reach you have inside yourself, the better ability you have to make better decisions. So this book essentially is a book that takes you on a journey to a greater sense of self-awareness, and it's a workbook and things that you can practice. One of the things that I always say is, if you're not practicing something, what are you getting good at? And virtually very, very few people practice getting better at being themselves. And if you're being coached, you likely are, but those that are not are not. So that's really what the book is about.
So I know I'm personally very excited to read it. So for those listening that would like to get a copy of it, where could they find the book?
It's an ebook. It's a short ebook. It's called The Success Secret, or you can type my name in Amazon. My name is Andrew Kolikoff, Kolikoff. It's only $2.99. I made it dirt cheap intentionally because I never intended to get rich from the book. It was just a way to help people, basically help people. That was really what it was about for me. And it was just me collecting my thoughts in so many blogs over the years and writing about it and speaking about it, that I just squeezed it all together and put it in an ebook. That was really what it was.
And you've been able to identify some really wonderful themes and put it into a book format, which I think is really helpful. But I know you've talked to a number of different executives, especially throughout the Valley, but also on a national level. Are there any other themes that continue to pop up that you're a little bit more mindful of, or that you feel like you've been able to help a lot of individuals with the most over the last couple of months?
Tell me more what you mean by themes.
What's showing up in their lives as things that or current obstacles, whether personally or professionally?
Okay. So as you get to know, so I know a lot of executives. I know a lot of people. And when I say the word no, underline it. Um, we wind up talking about life. We talk very little about business. And people say to me, that's awesome. How do you get there? How do you do that? And I gave you a little tip, and the tip is to share your life, to have the courage to be unbelievably authentic and authentically you, and to know that your failures are where you are. Life is a snapshot and a motion picture. Where you are now, where you were, and where you will be will always be changing. It doesn't matter. Do not judge yourself that you are less than or more than. Be strong in wherever you are in your life, share your failures, and you will be surprised how people will open up to you. And then if you have a non-transactional mindset, a mindset to serve, people will feel that and detect that, and they will invite you into their life. And because the one thing all great leaders know is to know to ask for help. People think it's a sign of weakness, and it is not. It is actually a sign of strength, is to know to ask for help. And most people don't offer to give it. And so that would be something I would say, is that I just know these people. I don't just know their business.
So, as we look to wrap up today's conversation, are there any closing thoughts, tips, or advice that you'd like to offer our listeners?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think we covered a lot of things. I mean, basically, how I got to this was, out of the home that I was raised in. My parents were incredible, and my grandparents, and I lived this way. And I would say, yeah, I would ask yourself, everybody in your audience, ask yourself, what in your life, besides your family and your friends, what are you, without question, 100% committed to, where it is actually your life and not your work? And if you can't say something outside of your family and friends, you need to. You need to. So I would do that soul searching within yourself, because when you find that, ah, it's not work, and amazing things will happen to you in your life. And that's the kind of searching I think we all should do if you don't have that clarity. Clarity, my dear, is what makes you dangerous in the best way. And a lot of people do not have clarity.
Andrew, for those individuals that haven't met you yet but want to, what's the best way for them to get in contact
Uh,
with
LinkedIn, Andrew Kolikoff, Kolikoff, 2 F's like Frank in LinkedIn, or my email, which is my name, andrew@kolikoff.com. I will talk to anybody. I don't care who you are, what status you are in your life. I am here to serve and make a difference in yours.
Andrew, appreciate you being with us today.
I appreciate you.